We're going to get started. Today is July 6, 2023. Welcome everybody, and this is our work session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get into our work session, I'm going to invite Mr. Jim Jackson to come to the podium. And Jim, if you'd like to introduce yourself and maybe tell everybody maybe what we had talked about, I'd appreciate it.
I'm Jim Jackson. I'm here on behalf of the Franklin County or Frankfort Interfaith Council, and I'm here also to introduce the person that will bring the prayer to you tonight, a young man. But I also want to thank Judge Mueller and the Fiscal Court members for inviting the Frankfort Interfaith Council to participate in this effort to bring prayers to you. I think that is very meaningful to our council. We're a council composed of 8 diverse faith groups in Franklin County. We have been in existence since 2012. We're all lay people, no professionally trained people. I'm certainly not professionally trained. I hope you'll see that very quick. We have 2 of our faith groups, our Hindu families and our Muslim families that might surprise you, but they compose somewhere between 100 and 150 families in Franklin County. If you put even 3 people to a family, you're looking at 300 to 400 members of those 2 faith groups. And I can assure you, the fact that they know tonight you have a young man who is of the Muslim faith presenting a prayer to you, how proud that community is that they're being recognized, they're being respected, and valued by leaders of this community. I want to also acknowledge here to you, we have a Sheikh Zaman, he is the leader of the Islamic Center here in Frankfort, and Sheikh is originally from Bangladesh, and I can say to you, he's lived in Frankfort longer than I have, and I've lived here 26 years. So he's been here a while. So glad to have a Sheikh. It is my pleasure to introduce to you a young man who I just first met tonight, already superbly impressed. Mahmoud Altaya. Mahmoud is a young man who is 16 years old. He has 3 brothers, or two brothers, Mahmoud, and he's got some tall orders to finish. One is just graduated from Princeton, and the other one is in the technical field. Mahmoud, though, is going to be an 11th grader next year. He is going to the Gatton Academy, most of you know that, in Bowling Green. He will go there for 2 years now, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I never had a chance to get 2 years of college, my last 2 years of what I consider high school. But he'll get actually 2 years of college by going to Bowling Green, and he will live there. I want to introduce his dad, Osama Otek, is here with him, and he beats the Sheikh because he's been in Franklin County 29 years. So at this time, I want to ask Mahmoud if he'll come forward.
As we gather today in this courtroom, it is vital that we remember our purpose for being here. Our purpose is not one of low importance or one worth forgetting. Rather, it is primary to our very existence. We are commanded by the Almighty to serve Him and be just without any discrimination, not simply just for our own kith and kin, but in His name at all times, not just at the command of our own whims and desires, but at the command of the Most Wise. We ask the Most Wise to protect our courts from injustice. We ask Him to preserve this country and make it a land for all to have better lives and set themselves up for a better future in this life and the next. We ask the Protector to protect this county and nation from oppressors. We ask the source of guidance to guide us all. We ask the ultimate judge to make this a land He sides with and not against. We ask Him to let justice prevail over vice. We ask Him to let this be a land that's a beacon of light to the world, encouraging that which is good and forbidding that which is evil. We ask the Almighty, the source of strength and honor, to let us not be afraid to stand firmly for what is right. We ask Him to grant us the patience to persevere in His path not even if just a camera's watching or an audience is behind, but in His name at all times. We ask Him to satisfy the hunger of the needy in our community and satisfy the financial needs of those who are poor. May the Almighty help the police, firefighters, and first responders of the community do their job effectively and correctly. We ask Him to grant peace to the righteous who have come before us. May His peace and blessings be upon the guided prophets and messengers like Prophet Muhammad, Jesus, Moses, Noah, and Abraham, who were embodiments of righteousness and patience. And we conclude by proclaiming that all praise is to the Lord of the worlds. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you very much. And before we move on, Jim, I appreciate all your help with this. You know, you and I talked a couple years ago and could never kind of get together on it. I'm very honored that you all are here and that we'll be doing every faith, you know, Christian and everything throughout the, you know, the next year, 2, 3, 4. So I think it's great, and we welcome everybody that's here visiting.
This just sends a powerful message to a diverse community, and it says you're a progressive community. I don't think there's another county other than Louisville that has this kind of diverse faith group. In fact, I know there's not. Lexington's got a Muslim and Christian group. So I think it shows that if you're moving to Franklin County and you have a group that's diverse like this, it speaks well for Franklin County. The other thing I would hope that the court would be aware of, if there ever were to be some kind of explosive anger or violence against another race or another religion in our community, I think we've got a group that's been working for many years to work with the leaders here to make a difference.
Again, thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to our work session. Is there any public comments? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and invite Ms. Carrie Lowry up. How you doing, Carrie?
I'm well, thank you. My name is Carrie Lowry. For those of you that may not know me, I'm the shelter manager for Franklin County Humane Society. I'm here tonight because we are asking the court's endorsement of a grant application to the Kentucky Department of Agriculture Animal Control Advisory Board Spay-Neuter Grant, which is a grant that we have administered now for, I think, about 10 years. And so we do have that application before the Fiscal Court for approval. The amount of funds we're asking the KDA for is $1,500, which is the maximum amount. It goes towards spay and neuter of cats, in particular community feral stray cats in the community. And Franklin County Humane Society will match that fund. So there's no financial obligation to the court, but it does have to go through county government. So as the animal control facility and the provider of those services here in the county, we are before you to ask for that. I did also ask Judge Mueller if I could speak just for a few minutes about a little bit about how Franklin County Humane Society serves the community. I know most of you are aware that we have moved into our new facility. We moved the animals on June the 10th, so as of this weekend, we will have been in the building 4 weeks. We've been open to the public for 3. There was no interruption in services to the county or the city with regards to stray animals or bite quarantines, those things that we provide through our contracts, but we weren't open to the public for the very first week we were in the building. Imagine moving into your home, moving into a new home, and then having 25 people over for a dinner party that first night. That's kind of what that first week's been like for us. So I have been with Franklin County Humane Society, first as a volunteer and then later as a staff for going on 11 years now. I've been the shelter manager for 6. And in that time, we have, I believe, transformed the animal welfare in this community, primarily because we are trying to serve people and their animals instead of just taking in animals to hold on to or try to adopt. We know nationally that adoption is not the solution to homelessness with cats and dogs in particular, that we have to have a robust spay and neuter program. In 2020, Franklin County Humane Society, and we all know what else happened in 2020, we launched a program called All the Cats, Fixing the Feline Flood in Franklin County. And through that program, we offer free spay, neuter, and vaccination services to any resident of Franklin County, Franklin County, for their cats. That was a service we provided for $35 per cat. That, in addition to our TNR program, which is in its 11th year, has allowed us to go from providing those services for about 150 plus the 400 TNR cats to almost 1,200 cats a year in Franklin County. And so to give you an idea of that impact, because people ask, rightly so, how does that translate for us? Sorry, I thought I had that right here. In 2015, 2016, 2018, and 2019, the Humane Society took in over 1,000 cats a year, and about 700 to 800 dogs per year. Last year, we took in 595 stray cats. So if we are approached by someone that has a cat with kittens, or they have a group of cats, and some of you all have been around long enough, you remember, large numbers of cats at places like restaurants here in town or in particular neighborhoods, apartment complexes, that sort of thing. We don't get those kind of complaints anymore. So we have literally cut in half the number of cats that are coming to us to be surrendered. Subsequently, and these are grim numbers, in 2015, we euthanized 362 cats. Most of those are feral cats, cats that couldn't be rehomed because they'd grown up in the wild, they were wild cats. Last year, we euthanized 23 cats. With the exception of one, those were entirely medical cases. So that is so impactful. It is really, it's hard to conceive that that's where we've come to. So that's part of why this program in particular is so important to the community. The median household income for Franklin County is just over $50,000 for a family of 4, and the per capita here is about $23,000, I think. Veterinary care is becoming increasingly more expensive. So when you come to see the new building, and I hope that everybody will come, and I hope you all will join us on the 15th for the grand opening, you will see that the heart of the facility is our clinic area, where we provide that care as well as other medical care to animals. But we did last year just shy of 1,600 spay-neuter surgeries. Over 1,000 of those were for community-owned animals, not animals that came to the shelter, as well as almost 400 cats through our TNR program. That's astounding. So we know that keeping animals out of the shelter and in their homes saves us money, saves the community money, and it just provides a better overall outcome for cats and dogs. Of course, we also provide those services for dogs. Very low cost spay-neuter for community-owned dogs, as well as free spay-neuter surgeries for dogs that are identified as pit bull or pit bull mixed type dogs. We've been doing that for over 10 years. So this is an incredibly successful program, and it is having a tremendous impact for the community. And then lastly, I don't know, some of you may or may not have read, I submitted a guest column to the State Journal a couple of weeks ago. If you didn't, I would just like to, I'd like to hit on the last 2 paragraphs of that article. I touched a little bit on this when I talked about the size of Franklin County. With a population of approximately 51,000, we're the 19th largest county in the state. We are not the largest county or even in the top 10 by any stretch of the imagination. And yet, here we are. We have just opened a $6.5 million facility, the likes of which are nowhere else in the state, and very few like this in the country. That has happened because Franklin County Humane Society, Franklin County Fiscal Court, and the City of Frankfort partnered together to bring that about. And I bring that to your attention only to say, because I now, in this career, have found that I race to get home on Monday night so I can watch City Commission meetings, and I watch for Fiscal Court meetings. I know there are so many discussions in our community about the things that we need in this community. This was one of them. But if this organization, which is tiny, Franklin County Humane Society is a tiny organization, this dream started with a bequest of $287,000 10 years ago, became a $6.5 million facility, then I know that this community can do the things that it needs to do. We work together. Michael's been a part of that. Sherry, JW was down there when we were first drawing up plans for the new building. Eric was a huge supporter for us when he was on the city commission. So I want to encourage you all. We dreamed big, and we dreamed really big. Huge. JW might have said back in the day, maybe we dreamed a little too big, but we still got it done. And we got it done because of you all. We got it done because of the City Commission, those that sat in these seats before you all. And I cannot say this without bringing attention to Sam Marcus. You all have seen him. He has stood before you all so many times. He and now John Hibbard have fought for this community to have this resource and for this organization to be as successful as it is. And so I hope that we will make note of that Sam Marcus, as I said, and now John Hibbard brought this dream to fruition with your all's help. And so I'm here to ask for the support on this grant, but also to say thank you all on behalf of our organization, and behalf of all of the animals in this community and their people. Because we know now that we have to, the best way to serve animals is to serve the people that take care of them and love them. So that's all I have. And I really thank you for your time and for letting me to have this audience with the Fiscal Court.
Well, Carrie, thank you very much.
You all, does anybody have any questions about?
Getting ready to ask. Do any of the magistrates have any questions for you?
Should I ask a question? It's not, it might not be relevant, but it's something I thought about. The sheriff I went over there and did, and I was very impressed with how the system works and how the management is. The goals
You all accomplished. I had nothing to do with any of it except the tour, okay? But one thing you mentioned was that you sent those animals that had to be euthanized to a communal cremation place. And have it ever been any thought to putting them into the compost area here that we're using for livestock animals?
We're actually not permitted to do that.
Can't? Okay.
No.
That answers that question.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Judge.
Yeah, go ahead.
Carrie, I'm just wondering, thank you, first of all. I'm excited to see the facility tomorrow and excited that we did it as a community. And I think it sets a testament to the directive that we've been changing and shifting to in the last few years, that we can be a leader in our state as the capital city as we should be. And I think it's just the beginning of many projects. And as you said, I had some previous experience with it. And I'm excited that one thing is marked off the list. It may have taken 25, 30 years since I was in high school volunteering there, but we finally did it. So just wondering, all the CATS program, we had a private benefactor that sort of paid to help that get along in this community. I'm wondering how this grant is shifting that. Are we still having some private dollars going into the program if we were not able to receive the grant? Could you explain a little bit about how
Yeah,
we're going
so
to provide those services in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we of course have the spay neuter of the animals that are animals that come and reside at the shelter. We have our trap neuter return program for community feral stray cats, cats that can't come into the shelter and be adopted, but our organization has taken the stance that we will not euthanize healthy animals simply because they live outside, were born outside through no fault of their own. And then we have our All the Cats program for owned animals. So this grant is specifically geared towards that trap, neuter, and return program. The All the Cats program did start with a private donation. We had a private citizen come to us in December of 2019 and say, what's the biggest problem that you all face? And I said, we have got to figure out how to get cats fixed in this community because we were drowning in cats. If you all remember the old facility, think about 1,000 cats coming through that facility, or us having a census in June, July, and August of 200 or more cats and kittens. It was just untenable. So what they supported the program in its initial year, and mid-year we received a grant from the Joni Bernard Foundation, which was administered by Bluegrass Area Development District. The initial grant that year was for $10,000. In subsequent years, we've received $20,000, and then last year $25,000, this year $20,000. That helps pay for that program. So that program, All the Cats, is administered differently than the TNR program. This $1,500 goes towards the TNR program. That program's budget is about $10,000 a year. So in truth, either through fundraising or as part of our annual budget, the $1,500 is really just a portion of that, of what we finance. We spend about $40,000 a year in spay-neuter costs that offset the cost to the community. We also have vaccine grants from Petco, Love Foundation that provide free vaccinations for dogs and cats that are owned by members of the community. And that's also how we are able to do our annual, or well, usually biannual, this year will be annual, vaccination clinic, where we offer free vaccinations to members of the community. We usually do that at Lakeview Park. I expect we'll be doing that again at Lakeview this fall as well. But that's how those two are those funds are separate, so to speak. But
Okay.
yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
All right, Carrie, thank you very
Thank
much.
you
And I
all.
want to thank you, Sam, John, and more importantly, your team and the volunteers of this community that really stepped forward and helped run that facility. So I'm glad we could be part of it, and we're looking forward to being there to.
I have to say, with the rain the last few weeks, it was nice to sit in my office and watch it just pour down rain and not worry about where the sandbags were or whether the pumps were working.
Yeah.
So, thank you
Good.
all.
Thank you. Alrighty, next on the work session, on our agenda tonight is a planning and zoning code enforcement officer. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about before we get to that item? Robert, is anything you want to speak on that as far as what we have discussed with the code enforcement officer?
I have nothing to add.
Go ahead, Squire Blackburn.
I was just going to ask if Mr. Good could come up and just tell us some things that a code enforcement officer would do.
Well, this individual or this position would be in the field the majority of the time. It's not uncommon for just about every complaint to come through my department, and then it somewhat gets distributed out from there. And so we assist other departments as well. However, this can assist us with being in the field on the fly to look for, construction that's not permitted, mud on the road on behalf of the road department as a result of construction. My department works closely with the occupational tax office for business licenses. So they'll be able to check construction sites for compliance with our license requirements, and just in general be out there to help educate, ensure compliance, make sure things are running smooth, and just help all the way around. We are so busy in the office, there's so much going on that having an extra set of eyes out in the field can oftentimes help resolve an issue before it becomes a problem. So that's the focus behind this position.
I like to use the term educate, because a lot of people are doing things they don't even know is right or wrong. So,
Exactly.
and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Thank you. Squire Sebastian.
Just a question, Judge, are we going to talk about this, do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to wait till we get to the tab?
So whatever you want to do.
Well, I'm asking. for-
Yeah, I just thought we'd talk about it at a work session, because I knew it'd be kind of a big thing to talk about.
Okay, well, I probably do have some questions. So is this position, is it being converted from either maybe a vacant part-time or a full-time position, or is it wholly new created?
It's a brand-new position for county government.
So, it's unusual to come right out of a budget development where we talk about positions and talk about new position adding, et cetera, and typically we budget for that during the budget time. Literally, we are a week after that, and it's just now coming up. So, who can speak to that?
I guess I could. I mean, I thought we had talked about it in a meeting. I mean, it was in the budget. We put it in the budget to
We put
create
it
this.
in.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's put it in 100%.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
absolutely. We put it in the budget, and, I mean, this is something that
Good.
we've talked, some of us have talked about for a couple of years. So it's important, I think it's a matter of all these contractors running around that aren't carrying business licenses and things like that, and we're losing a lot of money in taxes.
Which I think is excellent.
Yep,
That's an
but
excellent
it
point.
is definitely in the budget, and it is something.
If I could further to what Judge Mueller
That would help,
just
that
referenced.
would be great.
So the fiscal court has an ordinance on the books that says no building permit shall be issued until all subcontractors or all contractors have been identified as having a valid county business license, okay? So, but when you go to construct something, you don't always have all your subcontractors identified yet. If it's a very large project, yes, they'll do it as a package and you'll get everyone at once. But on other, single-family homes and such, you may not know who your painter's gonna be when you're ready to start building your home. You just hadn't gotten that far yet. But we don't want to hold someone up for something that's not going to occur for another 7 months. This position can be out in the field, go by all these active permit sites, because people say, yeah, we'll let you know who it is when we pick them. Well, they get busy and they forget. So we can stop by and say, hey, did you ever pick your painter? We know we're going to let us know. We just want to make sure you followed up with us on that. So once again, it'll educate, it'll ensure compliance, and we'll just make sure that, that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed, and the will of the previous court has been upheld.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Will this person be taking over like the nuisance complaints? Like, for example, today while I was in Louisville, I got a call about firework debris. Okay? So I'm walking through the hospital and unable to answer the call because the walls are thick. So I go to a place and the individual started in with, when I was on my walk today, that's how I said hello, and then that's how it started. When I was on my walk today, there are firework debris throughout the neighborhood in the road. So I started asking questions. So will this person do things like investigate that type of thing? Because my questions were, is there metal in the road? Are things still on fire, and is there metal in the road? Those were my two main questions.
Sure.
But, will it be like that? Will it be investigating like a abandoned property? I'm just trying to get like the full breadth. That would help our community understand the vision for the position too.
Sure. So the best thing about Franklin County staff is that we all work very closely together. We're small enough where we assist one another. We're always communicating with one another. So I see this new position working in conjunction with the environmental code officer.
Okay, so
It's coming
they
out of the road.
won't,
They will be, I can see them working hand in hand.
but their duties won't overlap. There will be a way
Correct.
to delineate who to make the calls to. Because I would have a call, like for
Correct.
example, the call I made today, just to say or the call I took today on firework debris.
Right.
what would happen with that call? Just so
Sure.
I need to try to start separating that in my mind.
Well,
Because
that's a
we're
very
getting lots
unique
of-
call, so we're happy to take that call,
Okay.
send the inspector out. Now, a very typical situation might be someone calls and says, hey, there's an abandoned house down the street from me, and, you know, can y'all do something about it? Well, I can send this employee out. They can go look and say, oh, well, that's a mobile home. That is covered under the environmental code officer. So once again, that communication
Okay.
would facilitate, but, you know, it would start with us, you know, it's a home, you know. So it will be a side-by-side kind of thing, but the ordinances are very specific on which officer has what jurisdiction.
That'll be very helpful. So will this position be able to issue citations that include like fines or seize property, or is that like 2 steps down after they investigate, you know, go out to review, investigate, and then, you know, write up reports, or, I'm just trying to figure out how all that works.
All right, so the position will have the authority to issue notices of violation
Okay.
as well as citations, and then any fines imposed would be assessed by the district court or anything that the county attorney's office could assess,
Okay.
as it relates to liens or anything like that.
Okay, all right, that helps me, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Well, mine's more comments and questions. She has questions to clear up things.
That's my thoughts, but looking at the job description and primary duties that they've listed down here are pretty extensive. And the last one down there, it says other duties as assigned, pretty much allows somebody to determine how far they want this person to go. But I think it's a good move, because the very first one is conduct field inspections to verified code compliance with planning and zoning, and a business license with occupational tax. They didn't do anything but that. He would pay his salary, because there's no telling how, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, let me clear that up, but I mean, I'd be surprised if he didn't find violators, I'll put it that way.
Squire Tracy.
Robert, if this successfully goes through tonight, would it be possible to send something out on how you want us to handle calls that we receive, instead of 5 of us calling this individual and them going every which direction, or not knowing which direction to go? Would you send that to us so we can kind of help streamline?
Yes, I'd be more than happy to.
Thank
That's
you.
an idea.
Squire Sebastian.
The position description in front of us tonight, is there an opportunity, if this does go through tonight, is there an opportunity to have comment on the position description after court, rather than kind of getting down in the weeds on it?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Squire Wiseman.
Yeah, good comment there about Squire Sebastian. You know, I feel that the duties, the job description generally may be a little light, and maybe it could be specified just a little bit more. Gives great latitude for the position generally. You know, I have I just want to verify that this officer would have ability countywide. We're not differentiating between city lines, and has there been any discussion with the city about them contributing to this position? Because I understand they don't have anyone doing this either at the moment. Is that correct?
The city is aware that this was on the agenda for this evening. There was a meeting with the mayor and the city planning and building codes director about this, and we did kick around some ideas, but until the court takes action, we weren't going to forward that conversation any further than just giving them the gentleman's heads up.
I remember some side discussion about this position. We obviously need this in the community, but could someone sort of discuss the option to go with a full-time position in-house? There was discussion at one point about a contractual position here. Does anyone have any?
No, I don't remember any discussion as far as a contractor. I mean, it's kind of my thoughts that it's definitely a full-time position, kind of like Squire Tanner was saying. I mean, there's so many people out there, and we all know them, that, you know, and it's our intention that this person would work interesting hours, you know, afternoons, after 4:30, weekends. You know, we all know the people that are out doing what they shouldn't be doing, and not paying their fair share and things like that. So I think it's definitely going to be a full-time position, and I think when we had talked about it initially, it's being split between tax administration and P&Z as far as, for budgetary reasons, because it's going to be working with both of them, trying to figure out compliance and things like that.
Just another comment, if I may. For the general public, this may seem like we're trying to get them a little bit, but I want to suggest that there is an alternative viewpoint of this position. We all know we have numerous contractors, individual sole proprietor contractors, that kind of thing, that come in this community on the weekends and work. Many of them are unlicensed, many of them don't have any bonds or even insurance, and often we hear complaints, field complaints, I do at least certainly, of a contractor who came in and took a bunch of money and didn't finish a job or did substandard work. I think this is a great way to start combating that, to hold those people accountable for this kind of work in our community, so that we push out that element that has been persistent in this town for far too long, or in this community for far too long. So I wholeheartedly support, and I think we need to look at it a little bit more that way. It may be, to the public, it may be just a little extra hurdle to provide some of that information to our office, to you, Robert, but in effect, we're looking out for their best interest, right, as government should be.
That is correct. And storm events are a prime example of the community being flooded with
Yes.
individuals promising to make repairs and such. And so that will be very busy times for not only my building and electrical inspectors, but also for the code enforcement officer, just to make sure that permits are issued, licenses are paid, insurance certificates are placed on file in my office. So, it can be very, very valuable. This is not a means of dropping a hammer on the community. This is a way to help the community, like you said, because we often receive complaints, say, oh, hey, my contractor's not doing the right thing. Does he even have a license? And so I get those quite a bit. So this is a way to help offset that and just everyone be on the same playing field. That's what it is. If you're going to work here, pay your taxes, fly right.
Squire Sebastian.
And I can speak to this, and I know Squire Knights can speak to this. Back in January, we worked on a home of a fly-by-night contractor who had built the deck on the back of someone's home, and it was improperly shored up. You couldn't even walk out on the back of it for safety concerns. And so there are certainly reasons to do this.
Yes.
So I'm excited about what this can do for the safety for our property owners here and the folks who live here. Because
Yes.
it ultimately can be a matter of safety for them,
It is.
working with someone like this.
My office also receives numerous calls from adjoining owners who say, hey, my neighbor's building something. Do they get a permit? They might be on my property, that kind of stuff. So this person could be dispatched to go out, check on those things right away, get into the software to see if they have a permit issued, and then between the Planning and Building Code Department software and occupational tax software, they can see everything they need to see out in the field. So,
Yeah, we also, on the tax administration, we all know the Airbnbs are here, and who's paying and who's not and things like that. I think we're just really trying to get everybody on a even playing field. I know just a quick story. About a month ago, I went up to Kroger on a Saturday morning, past 4 different roofs being put on, no harnesses, and we're not OSHA, but it's all about getting everybody on the same playing field. That same morning, I happened to take my son to the bank to move some money around. It's 11:30. All of a sudden, here come all these guys in cashing checks. One check was for $10,000 cash. Walked out the parking lot. It's a truck, unmarked West Virginia plates. And so it is a safety thing, because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, we know they don't have business licenses. They probably don't have insurance. And if one of those guys came off those roofs,
Right.
that would be a catastrophe for that homeowner who probably doesn't even know it. So, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. So we are looking out for people's safety, but it's also to get people, on the same playing field. Did you have a question, Carl?
Yeah, Judge, you bring a great point there, and I hope that part of that's already been mentioned, but isn't necessarily in the job description, is some of that public education about, this is a great person to call and say, I'm considering having some of this work done. what should I be asking my contractor for? Proof of insurance,
Right.
proof of business license, primary contact, bond if need be over a certain amount, that kind of
Yes.
thing. I just have a bit of a technical question that, Judge, you kind of brought up that they're going to have a non-traditional work schedule. If you could speak to your ideas on that, it's a full-time, or they're obviously not going to be an 8 to 4:30 because the primary objectives, I think, are combating some of those weekend warriors, if you will. Kind of speak just to what you're envisioning, maybe, Robert, of what how we will have a full-time position and how that will function.
So in my discussions with the judge's office, we have, I believe, landed on the concept that there will be Saturday hours associated with this position. That's going to be a guarantee right there. And then perhaps during the day, those hours, they may be working 8 hours a day, and then perhaps maybe 6 on the weekend, so that way, they may end up as a 40-hour-a-week employee as opposed to a 37 and a half. So that's the idea that we're bouncing around. There's other departments that do work 40 hours. Some work more, like the fire department. My department, we work 37 and a half. So it's whatever we work out with the judge's office, but we want to hit those, I guess those key off times is the best way to put it. And Saturday is during the day is a key off time that
So
we want that out there.
You're envisioning the position to be able to flex somewhat depending on the need. If there's a big storm event, right?
Yes.
That they may have a 60-hour workload that week, and maybe the following is less. Ideally, your office is going to kind of correct the ebb and flow and have some person that's hired that understands that there's going to need to be some flexibility in their availability.
Yes, in the years past, I have gone out after storms with the occupational tax administrator to canvass roofing contractors, okay? Because, the occupational tax office does not have an enforcement officer, even though, it's required. So I would go out and call the roofers off and ask to speak to the boss and sort it out that way. So, you could spend 3 straight days going through this community finding just roofing contractors, these recent storm and wind events that we've had are huge as it relates to, this position and ensuring that people, not only are licensed, but the permits have been issued and they're getting their proper inspection so that we protect the investment of the constituents in the community. That's what it's about.
And another thing, Squire, our hope is, you mentioned earlier, we have talked to the mayor and the city, so I think once we get there, we will have some discussions, because I think this person will be able to function in both, and we'll figure that out, together as we move forward. It's just, it's well needed, and
Absolutely.
hopefully, it sounds like court's behind it, and we'll, but it is education, but it is also, it's safety, it's taxes, it's a lot of things, so it's, as far as I'm concerned, way past due. Squire
I
Tanner.
just got one more comment, and it's not a question, it's a comment. If I'm a contractor of anything, and I'm paying my taxes, and you're a contractor and you're not paying your taxes, I want you to pay up. I want you to have the same rules that I'm following, and I think that's a benefit that so it's not everybody's gonna be upset about it, it's just gonna be a lot of people glad.
Yes.
And another thing we have been working on, just kind of goes with it too, and Robert's been working on too, is looking at our fines and things like that. Because right now, it's I know Squire Sebastian's had a problem with, somebody, not mowing grass, and we're not charging enough, you know what I mean? They're using us as a lawn service, so that's another thing that we're looking to really kind of up, just to keep people honest and doing the right thing. Go ahead, Squire.
Do we have to have another ordinance to establish fines and penalties for certain violations? Is that, I'm sure it's a county attorney question. There may be a blanket statute somewhere.
There is not, and I've had conversation with the judge's office. I'd like to have a comprehensive fee/fine schedule so that you can go and see it all in one place, and so it'd be a master ordinance, because right now it's in a variety of different ordinances scattered across the fiscal order books, and so they haven't been addressed in decades. My zoning ordinance has fine associated with it in violation, so and it just needs to be brought together, and so the entire court can visit that and find or decide what's reasonable what needs to be added, what should be taken out. But right now, it's not comprehensive, and that's an issue.
And it's also our intention that this person, once we hire, he or she has access to planning and zoning, computer, and tax administration. So in the field, the person will be able to tell if somebody's in compliance or not, right there on the spot. So just trying to get things organized and online and up to speed. So it's exciting. Squire Tracy.
If they're not in compliance, would they have the ability to have that done on site? I mean, can they print out a permit? Will they be able to pay for a business license?
That's our intention.
Yes, that's currently available.
Yeah.
So yes, they can do it on their cell phone,
Yep.
on a laptop. And we receive, all business license applications that are received by the county come to the Planning and Building Codes Department first. Okay? We review it for, land use code compliance, and if it's in agreement with our land use codes, then myself or one of my staff members will sign off on that business license, and then we give that back to the occupational tax administrator, who then physically issues the license. Okay? So, as soon as one comes in electronically, it goes to the occupational tax office, and she immediately brings it to our attention. So, and then with communication with the code officer in the field, we can say, okay, yeah, they turned it in, we've approved it, or whatever, and then, then business is taken care of right there.
Along those lines, this position, I envision, will have the ability to issue stop work orders effective on violated projects, as well as the opportunity to, I want to think about those West Virginia contractors that are here doing roofs, that we have some ability to find immediately on site, that they don't just leave town and they're gone and a project's undone. And I'm sure you're thinking about some of those concerns, but I've heard way too many of these stories. It's too persistent, as I said, in our community. So I'm sure we'll find some ways to attack all those problems.
Sure. So the issuance of a stop work order is going to be based on the activity and which code it falls under. All right. So it starts to get complicated because we administer so many different codes, and the way the ordinances are written as to who has the authority to issue the stop work order and things of that nature. But that's something we'll work through.
Well, you gotta start, or you can't.
Right.
No, you're absolutely, Squire. I mean, that's where we are. We got to get started. So that's why it's before you tonight. So, Robert, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Alrighty, moving on, judge's report. I'll buzz through this. I did my first TV interview with the Frankfurt Plant Board. They asked questions about our new road department, Lakeview Park, and then where we are with modernizing the planning and zoning and putting everything online. So it was a good interview. Hopefully got a lot of information out there. The Road Committee, Parks Committee, Emergency Services Committee met the week of June 25th. A lot of information was covered there. Some of our next meetings, we're going to talk about active shooter training, things like that. The meeting kind of ran over. So today, I think you heard Squire Tanner and Squire Sebastian tour the Humane Society. I believe tomorrow there's some more that's going to tour the new facility. And like Carrie said, hopefully July 15th, we can all be at the grand opening. We had grant writer interviews. I think that's on our agenda today. Solid waste interviews also, so we're working on all those. From our last meeting, I believe I had some homework to do, so I'm going to let you all know where we are on that. Finally got a hold of ESG, the energy company that worked for us the last couple years. We're having an energy committee meeting on Monday, so we'll be meeting with them to figure out where we are with the energy project, and I'm going to assume that we'll probably put them on the next agenda to come to the court, depending on what comes out of that meeting. Squire Blackburn, I believe Squire Tracy had a couple state roads they had some issues with, so a letter has been drafted and written to transportation regarding the 421 speed and some speed reductions on Squire Tracy's area, so that letter was sent. We also got a letter out to the postmaster, which is interesting because we're in a district that's West Virginia to Louisville. So it's kind of interesting. So we sent two letters, one to West Virginia, one to Louisville, just to make sure. But that was with Squire Sebastian talking about the mailboxes on Evergreen Road being an issue. And then we're still talking and putting feelers out. Squire Tanner brought up some hiring a lobbyist. So we have been, Deputy Jack's been talking to some people. I've been talking to some people. So we're trying to kind of get a good game plan and figure out who's going to be best for us to hopefully hire when we get there. So that's kind of my judge's report. And then next, I'm going to ask Mr. Stephen Hawksmith to come up and talk about the road department updates.
Evening, Court.
Evening, Stephen.
For the last few weeks, we've been mowing, mow trimming. We've had a few trees with storm damage, yard waste, chipping, and we did a culvert install, and we've had a few animals.
Squire Sebastian.
I just want to follow up and see if the yard waste, have we seen that start to decrease?
Yes, it
some now
has.
that I think the city has renewed its, or started again?
All right, they have, and let's see, I think last week we had 20 county and 32 city. This week we had 10 county and 17 city.
Okay.
So yeah, it's slowing down.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Squire Westman.
Stephen, I'm just wondering if we have any ideas on paving schedule, any roads that are in the immediate future. If you have any thoughts on, I know there's been several that are sort of up in the air for later this year, but.
Yeah, as of right now, no.
Okay. Still patching?
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, I forgot to add that on the list too. Yes, we've been patching the last couple of weeks, but yeah, John and I were gonna get together sometime here in the next week or so and go over some of those road lists.
Okay. So we should maybe get some priorities, if any of us to you all.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Squire Blackburn. Microphone, please. Don't get me in trouble.
Yes, Stephen, thanks for speaking to us today. You know, there's been, I've gotten a few calls, there's been some misinformation about somebody from the road department not being, not having someone in regards to emergency calls and situations after hours. It's something to do with the vehicles. But anyway, how do you see those types of emergency events? How are they going to be handled?
We've got one truck that goes home every day, on call.
Okay.
So that'll handle that.
I think we discussed that, like if there was going to be like storms or snow events or stuff like that, it'd be at the discretion
Yeah.
to have some guys take some trucks home.
Yeah, at the discretion of the department heads, what it said.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Squire Tanner.
This is a question for whoever can answer it. Does the highway district come in here and tell us where they're gonna spend their rural secondary money that they have and what their projects are?
You talking about for our roads?
Well, for their roads in this county. They don't do that?
Well, they do. They come in and meet with us and ask for, as far as, and I know John's done that in the past. I think he usually gives them a list as far as what they feel like are the worst roads or bridges and things like that. But then it's up to them what they want to do.
It's up to them, but they used to,
Yeah.
they have before come in and tell us what, not that we got a lot of say-so about it, but tell us what they're gonna do. They don't do that anymore.
Well, they did, I think, until the pandemic. And last I talked to them, I asked if they would come and kind of present what they were thinking, and I think they would. So we just don't know it yet.
Well, it'd be not that we can change it, but it'd be nice we know.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Squire.
I know when that came about last time and they came and spoke with us under the last court, I went to John and was like, John, they're telling us what they're gonna do. How much input did you have in it? And he said, well, every one of these things that they're doing is on the top of my list.
Yeah.
So he made sure that it was coordinated and there were things that we needed done on their roads in our county. So I think there is some real good communication with the road department and those folks.
Any other questions? Stephen, just hang tight for a minute. Let me run through these next two, and then you're back on.
Okay.
All righty. Authorization to approve minutes from a regular meeting. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that one?
That you for
2. All right, now we're on 3.
Judge,
Go ahead, Squire.
I had one on the second.
Oh, go ahead, Squire Wiseman, on the second one.
The third paragraph in the June 22nd meeting, an authorization to open the Administrative Code and Direct Administrative Services Committee to meet. I don't remember that way. I thought we had directed all of the body to have input into the Administrative Code It's just the wording that was a little confusing to me because I don't remember it being stated that way. So just thought we'd check.
I actually had the same question and remembered it the same way.
Okay. So what would you like to change that to say then?
To direct the fiscal court members instead of the committee, I think would be the more appropriate, what I remember us stating anyway.
I don't think that's the way it's
Don't
presented. I think
I
it
don't.
was presented. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to,
We
the
were-
comments are supposed to come to administration.
Yeah, we were to turn in all of our comments or.
Yeah, and then the committee would take it up and then present it to the court.
Yeah.
So the committee gets it and then it comes to the full court.
Yeah,
Yes.
correct.
Comes back to the court.
Everybody
Yes.
sends
Yeah.
their comments.
Okay.
But I just wanted to verify, we stated that we would have a transcription effectively of all comments, that there's not a committee deciding that, that is the.
Right,
the
and I think
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
The code is the full body.
Yeah, yeah, no,
But everybody was supposed to be able to give comment.
Correct.
And it would go to the committee and then, because we may get 6 of the same comment.
Exactly. No, that's right. It
So
just
that's-
sounds,
yeah.
it sounds,
It just wasn't, not exactly what I remembered, so I just thought I'd question.
Yep. Okay. Squire Blackburn.
So for clarification on that, people that aren't on that committee, do we send our suggestions to you or Jack or?
Jack.
Okay.
I got another one too, I asked you about.
I just think the way it's written says.
Just float right off, yeah.
And we had, and not that it needs to be in the motion, but we had said sort of by the end of July to have those.
Perfect.
Right. Okay, that was all.
Thank you. All righty,
We
tab
on to
3, Squire.
I've got something for 3.
All right, let's go, Sherry,
We
Squire
didn't actually
Sebastian first,
change
go ahead.
anything on that.
Squire
Clarify the whole-
Tracy's name is spelled wrong on the very last. Squire, he's now Squire Tract.
Yeah,
So
That's
when
what
you
I was gonna say.
just fix that and Tracy.
perfect.
The other thing is, I don't think we started the meeting at 10:07 and adjourned at 10:08. Pretty sure that's not accurate.
It was an 8-minute meeting, but yeah,
It was 8 minutes in total. I remember.
exactly.
That was quick, I mean, that's like we did something special there.
We did.
Seriously.
Let's do it again.
So we need to change that, please.
So we're gonna say 10:15 then?
10:23 is what actually
Yeah.
it was. I remember timing 8 minutes, the quickest meeting we'll ever have.
All right, so we wanna change it to what?
The
10
10:23.
10:23.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was cracking me up.
10:13, sorry, 10:13.
Okay. Any other changes on item number 3?
Did we say it was 8 minutes?
I thought it was 8.
So that makes it 8:15.
So it'd be,
7 plus 8 is 15.
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I said. I said,
Just working on math here.
I don't know, I just know it wasn't 10:08. That's all I know.
okay. Anything else on item number 3? All right. Item number 4. Steve, you want to talk about the sealed bids?
Okay, yeah, we'd like to get approval to advertise for sealed bids for a new mow trim. And number 5, we'd like to get approval to advertise sealed bids for a dump bed and snow equipment for the 2023 Ford F-450. And these are budgeted items.
And Motrim give up the ghost.
No, not yet. She resurrected back.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, for the time being,
Hey, I'm saying,
for the time being.
Hey, Stephen, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Squire Tracy.
Any idea what the turnaround time is on those, on that equipment?
I've heard maybe a year as far as the mow trim. But snow equipment, we haven't, it should be pretty quick, on that. Probably a few months, maybe 3.
So to piggyback on what Squire Tracy asked, are there any demo models out there that like are
We're
up
gonna
to-
try to look into that,
Okay.
yeah, because that's probably the
Anything
way we're
that
gonna
moves
have to
it,
go.
yeah, that
Because
advances
pricing,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, faster and pricing, because it'll have come with hours on it,
yeah.
I'm sure. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Stephen, on the truck, is that going to be gas or diesel?
It was ordered last year, so it's a diesel truck, yeah.
So it is.
We have it here at our lot. It's diesel.
All righty. Stephen, I think you're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty. Next one, the grant application that Ms. Lowry talked about. Does anybody have any questions on that? Don't believe there's a match or anything on it from us.
I assume this means the filing of a grant application or submission of a grant application, not filling of a grant application.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Number 6, just the way it's written on the agenda. That should be filing or submission or something, not filling.
Okay. All right. Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I don't know if it may or may not be an issue depending on the status of the application, but the fiscal court address they have here is 315 West Main, and that's on our
Okay.
fiscal address 321. I don't know that that'll mean anything.
Yeah.
If that's something that can be corrected,
Yep.
you'd rather get the paperwork
Absolutely.
here at the right place than have to track it down later.
Kim, could you make sure we get that changed?
Yes.
Let them know that, please.
Judge, similar, the application lists our animal control officer as Richard Sandifer, which I know is filling in right now. I just wanted to verify we don't have any problem if,
Naming him, since we do have another person that is technically part of that position, right?
That was true.
But at the time of the application, Richard is the
Correct, and we don't know.
wanted to
Correct,
verify that
and
we
we
don't
don't
need to
know.
list
Yeah.
both or something.
Max, is that okay? Before the date of the application? No, it's well taken, Squire. Make sure we're doing everything on the up and up. Anything else? All right, seeing nothing else, we're gonna move on to the, well, hold on, this is Tina. It's Tina's show tonight. Come on up, Tina. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. How are you all?
We are doing well. What do you bring us tonight?
Yes, let me put my glasses on. So between June of 2022 and June of 2023, there have been a total of 1,414 roadway collisions in Franklin County, according to the Kentucky State Police database. Based upon this crash data, demonstrates the need for the Safe Roads for All SS4A grants. The SS4A grant is a federal grant through the U.S. Department of Transportation, and its bipartisan infrastructure bill. The purpose of this grant is to improve roadway safety by significantly reducing or eliminating roadway fatalities and serious injuries. The grant requires a commitment to the Vision Zero program, where we commit to reducing the number of fatalities or serious injuries on our roadways. This is part of the resolution that is being submitted to you tonight. There are 2 grant types with the SS4A, planning and demonstration and implementation. We are proposing to submit an application for planning and demonstration at this time. This will aid in determining roadway and project needs. This grant has a federal match of 80% and a local match of 20%. The local match can be cash or in kind. The last part of the resolution will authorize the filing of the application for the 2023 Safe Roads for All grant program. So let's see if we can get that 1,414 statistic for collisions down to 0. Thank you. Here for questions. Yes.
I'll take questions. I'll ask. This came through committee, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You want to talk about this at all before we get going?
Well, it seems like it's a great opportunity, a lot. I thought I turned it off. Well, maybe she was right. Sorry.
I'm trying hard not to.
Yeah, it's all good. Go ahead, Squire, let's try it again.
Those phones are too smart for me. We did talk about that. Squire Tracy was there and you were there. It's an opportunity for us to look at some safety needs on US 60 at Versailles Road. There's plenty of need out there, and I understand that the deadline on this grant is very near. Is that not correct for us to apply for?
July 10th.
July the 10th, so.
It's like right
I do remember that more than anything else. We don't even try, we gotta do it right now.
Exactly.
Can I,
And it's 80-20, whenever somebody tells you they'll give you $80, you give them 20, most everybody's gonna do that. And it's in kind, so in the wind up may be hardly any money cash at all.
Any comments, Squire Tracy? Squire Taylor, thank you. Squire, thank you.
I'm just curious what can be considered as in kind for this grant?
Well,
Do you
there
know?
is a list on the website.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
things like equipment and workers, time.
Okay.
and
Okay.
there's a
Just-
whole list.
okay.
I'm sorry, I should have.
no, that's fine.
It could be admin, it could be paperwork.
Just any, well, sometimes it's real, sometimes it's, you know,
It's-
very
it's
general,
pretty
and
wide range.
sometimes it's not, so that's good, that's
Yeah.
well, okay, thank
Squire
you.
Tabasco.
No, thank you, Judge. Do we know how much money we're gonna go after for the planning and demonstration? Because I got on the web today, this afternoon before I came, and tried to read some things, and some of it's kind of very vague and broad at this point. There
Right.
weren't a lot of details there.
Right, so for phase
Phase
one.
one, this is phase one. We can ask from 100,000 to up to 10 million.
It said up to 10 mil,
Yeah,
so how
but-
much are we gonna ask for? Because that was a really wide berth.
For our community, our numbers for our population, we were talking about it earlier, is 100,000, I believe, to 250, I believe. Yes, 150 to 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still writing, 'cause I got one more question.
You're fine.
150, you said to
To
250?
yes.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Because there are lots of places we can use it, and I know Mayor Blackburn's talked about his area quite often out there in US 60. I think we all probably hear about that. So maybe the committee talked about this, and there may be some detail that we have to put in there, but who can help quantify, because in that second whereas clause, it just talks about a dramatic decrease, and we have until 2050 to get there. So is there, I looked for some benchmarking, you know, do we pull data from the Kentucky Transportation Center at UK to start kind of as our bedrock for that, and then benchmark from there? I'm just trying to understand what that dramatic decrease means, kind of, and how we have to meet, because I looked for details in the document today just to see what we had to do to be assured that we could get the money and keep the money and not have to turn it back if we didn't meet whatever that was. So, and you all probably talked about that in committee, so.
That's something we would probably have to discuss during,
Okay.
yeah. I don't
Okay.
have an answer for that, unfortunately. But
Well,
I
mean,
could
the
get an
thing is,
answer for that.
You know, we got 220 county road miles, about 240 state road miles here, so there's a lot, and we interplay a lot between the two. And we're so fortunate here that our road department works really well, hand in hand with the Department of Highways in Franklin County, and they work really well with us. And so I think that collaboration could go a long way in doing what's needed on our roads with no shoulders, our roads where a lot of interchanges and intersections converge, and people are coming at a high rate of speed into a low speed area. And so there's a lot that can be done with this. So this is extremely a worthy project. I'm really excited that the road committee is absolutely on top of this and working with the staff to get it through, because I'm sure there's a collaborative process that the staff's going to have to work with too.
Well, not only that, but phase one, you actually have to have a task force. So that's something that we would have to discuss as well. Who's going to be part of this task force? The public has to be involved. That's also a stipulation. So there's a lot to it than what I'm presenting tonight, so I'm very sorry about that.
So when the funds arrive, will they go in and supplement like the $3 million that's in the road department budget, or where does that land? Does that, because I don't know where that has to land somewhere.
Right, so we would work with the treasurer for a special line item so that we can track that grant separately.
all right.
Yeah, we want to make sure those funds don't intermingle.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Yeah, I remember when Sheriff Quire and Deputy DeBoard came and gave us a presentation on the accidents in Franklin County. The biggest increase was on the interstate where all the work was being done. So I know when that is over, we'll see probably a significant decrease in fatalities for sure. But as far as quantifying the reduction, that'll be interesting to see how we do that. But I can see a lot of areas in my district that we could really use some funds and some maybe creative means to help people be safer on the road.
The data that she brought to the committee basically laid out where all the accidents happened.
Yeah,
You know, what
yeah.
intersections and numbers and how bad they were and things like that. So I think originally we had thought we were gonna go for a bigger pot, but then I believe after Robert met with HMB, they said the better way to do this is first year, go for the design money, and then second year, go for the project. Because we were just gonna go for the project, but that's not how it works. So it's kind of a step. Is that correct, Tina?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Squire Woods.
Yeah, Judge, commend Tina for fielding this and bringing it to us. $5 billion is just the beginning of a lot of funding that's coming available. And I said in my campaigning time that our community, our county has done a poor job in past of really using available grant funds, especially federal funds that are available to us. And we don't have a tremendous amount of this groundwork set for this community. But as I've heard in this body consistently over the last 6 months about road concerns, speed, traffic, hairpin turns, poor road conditions. We just said in our last meeting, we talked about a need to sort of evaluate the denser parts of our community, the hamlets and things that are on these rural roads that have never been improved past their original design construction in the 1920s or something. So a great step in the right direction, I think, for our community overall, setting some baseline work. This is, I just wanted to verify that this grant fund would be sort of a countywide evaluation, right, of all of our highways, problematic areas, not just focused on crash data, but where there are other concerns because of road designs. Is that right?
There's a lot that goes into it. The big pages of things I would present tonight if I could get into detail. But one of the things is also looking into marginalized communities as well. So there's a lot to it, and that's one, absolutely.
I specifically yesterday in talking to you all was talking about my district, Buttermere Hill, and the River Bend. They don't connect, and we don't have a safe road up to that neighborhood for fire trucks or school buses. And that's not unique in our community. We have this unique topography that creates situations that are problematic. I would encourage us to go for a little larger range. I think this is an instance where having that lobbyist on board would be a great benefit to us. But I would just ask that the staff, once the application is submitted, that you put us all to work. All of us need to be calling DC, lobbying to get the maximum amount we can. And if there's a choice between 150 or 250, I would hope that we would apply for that amount, although I know applications due in a few days. And if not even a little bit more, I think we have a great opportunity given our census tract data and our diversity in this community. I was just looking at our housing study and the listing of our diversity, that we were one of the most diverse neighborhoods, and I have to commend Mr. Jackson for helping bring some of that to our attention about all the people that live here, and we serve all of them equally, and any opportunity that we have to use something like this grant fund to identify where we're maybe not serving them the best we can is critical, I think. So thanks, Tina.
Tina, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert, would you like to come up and present the next one, please?
Yes, good evening again. This agenda item is for a engineering services agreement with Haywood Meyer Boland, otherwise known as HMB. They have a Frankfurt office on the east side of town. So in general terms, this is just an on-call agreement for service for activities that our current county engineer doesn't specialize in. there's a list of the services that they provide within the agreement that the county engineer does not perform, which would include traffic studies, traffic assessments, which would be helpful in the grant previously mentioned, but other disciplines within the engineering field that we don't always need, so there's really not a need to hire a full-time person for it. So just an on-call agreement with H&B seemed appropriate. Just to let you know, the Farmdale Sanitation District also has the identical agreement with H&B for any additional services they may need outside of the grant and design administration for their project. But it's just a service that H&B offers, and it would just help supplement the engineering services that we already have under a contractual basis. So much like with the Bluegrass Ad agreement, if we don't need them, we don't get invoiced. But if we need them, they're there. So I recommend approval on this engineering services agreement. It'd be very helpful.
I only got one question.
Yes, sir.
If we're using H&B in the first place, for example, on some engineering project, and they need to get an outside engineer to help them, how's that gonna work?
H&B is a nationwide firm, so they can.
So they bring somebody in and we have to pay them additional money?
Well, that's why their fee schedule is attached. You know, that's all the staffing that they have. So, I mean, let's see, I don't see.
The subcontract.
So environmental specialists, that'd be for geotechnical work and analysis. So, you know, if the special discipline is not in the HMB office in Frankfurt, you know, they can consult with them out of their Nashville office or their office in another state. So it's not as though we're going to pay to fly someone in for a 1-hour meeting. I guess that's where I'm going with.
It says in the contract, the sub-consultants are the actual cost plus 15% if they need external.
So, for instance, let's say that we needed a forensic scientist based on the archaeological study that was performed, say, when we were excavating the road department. So, you know, forensic scientist, H&B doesn't do that. So that would be a subcontractor scenario in which there would be some additional costs, but you'd be incurring those anyway. This would just help streamline to get someone that the firm works with.
Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I just have a general question. Did you all think about a not to exceed amount? Like, don't we have a set amount with the county contracted engineer for a set amount, right, of services?
That's just based on the budget.
Yeah, based on the budget. So and this is, you know, we may use them 6 hours, may not, as you said, use them at all, because everything we may do may fall within the scope of our county contracted engineer. I just didn't know if there was a discussion about like a not to exceed amount that we had kind of limited ourselves to based on the budget rather than, and I know we have to have the hourly rate schedule, just in general, just asking.
Well, the not to exceed will be that it comes out of my budget, out of my engineering line item. So there you go.
Just
You know,
asking in
so
general.
I've already had the conversation with the treasurer, and it comes out of me, so I have to keep a very close eye on it. So I have the county engineer, and then if this gets approved, I will have this in there to monitor.
I think that's my role here, is to ask, unfortunately, all those good money questions. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You know, I noticed on that, schedule of cost, senior planning and traffic engineer, are these folks people we could utilize if we do receive the grant funding for the that Tina just spoke about?
You're exactly correct.
Awesome.
But could we also, by that same token, use the folks at UK and the Kentucky Transportation Center? Because we've had a number of presentations from them, and I've gotten data from them before about, for example, traffic on Old Lawrenceburg Road, because that's in the area I'm hoping that this hits, because there's so many accidents. Every time it rains, if it spits rain, there's a wreck there, somewhere in those S-curves. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this planning helps do with that. And I know you have a number of areas, we all are going to have that.
So
I just didn't know if there were times when we utilized, like the Kentucky Transportation Center at UK, for data and some other services that they provide. I'm sure we avail ourselves of every service that's out there.
Yes, we do. So that was some of the information that was provided to the road committee. And that's
Absolutely.
information that,
They do a great job with their data.
yes, they did.
They did.
And of course, that is collected locally and then provided to the national, or to the statewide database.
I just wanted to verify a question for county attorney. Typically, engineering is exempted from bid procurement process, but I wanted to verify that we are not getting into any weeds by having a generalist contract here. If there are opportunities that we need to bid, I just want to be careful that we don't kick over some study that really should be bid fully. Is the contract's sufficient to you?
Yes. And if I could further that, the statute for procurement does say that if you have an existing relationship with a firm, you can go ahead and go directly to that firm.
And that was going to be
correct, Mr. County Attorney?
Yes. And that was going to be my follow-up with you. Mr. Hewitt, is this firm, although nationally, does have a local presence, so it's an existing relationship that we've had working on some other opportunities.
Correct.
Is it correct these folks are working on the last grant that we just mentioned? Do we have
They will be working on it, yes.
do we have a idea of?
They can provide the service to assist us with the grant, that's what I meant to say.
Yes, which I like, it's mentioned specifically in there that technical expertise to be able to pull the data and write the grant, the technical grant is a great asset to us, I think.
Yes, they have staff that have prepared previous ones for other communities.
I'm just wondering, do we have, is that somewhat of the basis of this contract is to help us finish that in 4 days, right?
Well, that is obviously a needed and desired service, but there are other activities that the county has requested as it relates to, some independent traffic studies, maybe some water sampling. We've talked about the sewers at Elkhorn. On the Elkhorn, we've got a project profile in for a two-phase project down there, so, those kinds of things, once again, the county engineer doesn't do, but it just so happens that this SF4A grant kind of landed as fast as it did.
Coincides.
Yes, and it coincides, but the sanitary sewer project at the Forks of Elkhorn is a Franklin County proposed project, and HMB has been the Franklin County design engineer and construction inspection services for all of Franklin County's capital sanitary sewer projects, which includes Chokeville 1 and 2, Willow Crest, things of that nature. So we've had a decades-long relationship with HMB.
Well, just my final follow-up, is there the cost of this initial agreement, as well as any cost associated with writing the grant that we just discussed, do you anticipate any additional fees to need to come back to us to approve, or do you have that within your budget for the scope of the grant, which I'm assuming the ad's helping us with as well, or is there some?
The ad is not assisting us with this grant.
Okay.
Their transportation planner, I don't believe, would be prepared to jump in on this as quickly, or I'm not sure that they have the experience or the exposure to this federal application. But in the event that I have additional engineering, say through the county engineer or whatever, there may or may not be the need for a line item transfer later on in the year. So.
More specifically, the grant application we're working on, is there a additional cost to come back to us? I didn't see a fiscal note impact on the grant application that we're going to approve. Is there going to be an additional cost to us to write that within a quick time frame, or do you have that within your budget?
It's in my budget currently, yes, and so it would just be on an hourly basis. Okay. So this initial application is only a 2-page application. It's more or less a narrative and some location maps, and that's about it.
Isn't it pretty much a SF-424? I mean, it's a standard form, isn't it?
I can't remember the federal form number.
It's that, I can tell you, I've filled out a million of them. It's a standard form. It's 424 or 424A.
So it's just important to get the key language in this federal application that they're looking for. And so with their experience in other SF4A projects, they're like, because I wanted to go straight to implementation, and they're like, the federal government likes you to go to step one before you go to step two. So I was like, well, that works.
Perfect. Robert, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
Is anyone cold in here?
Don't even.
I'm not sure if Jack's doing back here.
Feel
I
like.
think he's trying to heat you all out of here.
Somebody's
Move you along.
The heat's on.
All right, next we have treasurer's report. Good evening, Amy.
So you should have the treasurer's report. I think it was emailed to you this afternoon or on your desk. And I'm sorry for the delay. Kim and I have been very busy these past 3 days, closing the year out, still in the process of that. So that's why you have the delay. Very little to report. We do have already 3 days in, one budget line that's over budget, but there will be an amendment. It's for the Judicial Center. We have an insurance proceed that came in for that, so that will be taken care of.
Any questions for Amy? Squire Westman.
We expected those. You told us before about insurance overages that we still
Yes.
anticipated were outstanding.
Yes.
I haven't had very much time just to look at it, Amy, but we've had some significant items come out. I'm just wondering what your perception is of our cash flow at the moment. We paid some big ticket items for insurance premiums and
We did.
workers' comp and
It is
otherwise.
normal to pay upfront the insurance, workers' comp, as well as the software fee for our financial software. And we're in good shape. I do keep an eye on that.
Thank you.
Squire Dyke.
Amy, after the budget was in the State Journal, I started getting lots of phone calls about opioid settlement money. And so I thought it might be appropriate, just while folks are listening, for you to maybe explain a little bit about those funds and assure people that those funds have not been spent.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
That might be helpful for people to hear.
Yeah, that's a good thing to go over. If you look at your expense report on page 11, the opioid settlement has its own fund. It also has its own bank account that's interest-bearing. So that money, it was $205,000, that came in last budget year. The money has not been spent, so I carried it over, and it's in an account called contingency reserve until the court decides how that money is going to be spent. And we'll keep adding to that each year. I'm expecting probably this month we'll have another, probably around, I think it's going to be around 30 to 40,000 that will hit that account. So you're correct. It's a contingency. It's just like our ARPA. We have a line item there. The money's just sitting there until the court directs how that money's going to be spent.
Thank you very much. I think that's very helpful.
Any other questions for Amy? Amy, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I hope you've got some rest in the last week.
Alrighty, next is payment of claims. Does anybody have anything for Kim on payment of claims? Alrighty, seeing none. Authorization to go into closed session per KRS 61.8101. F, discussion or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. We are in closed session. Authorization to return to open session.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. We're moving again. Authorization to hire a grant writer. Have any questions? Anybody have any questions about that? Next item, authorization to create a new position in planning and zoning code enforcement officer. We talked about work session, and there's also questions on that. Authorization to approve the board appointments. We are going to table the Mr. Patel's. We know he is moving to Frankfurt, but I would like to verify when to make sure before we appoint him, if that's okay. The next one is Mr. Bragg. Anybody have any questions?
Great choice.
And then we have the Roslyn appointment. Any concerns on this one?
Lots of concerns.
Maybe, as long as you correct my last name, which is not Booth. Not married or otherwise. It says Sherry Sebastian Booth.
Oh. yeah.
Can that
Kim,
be
did you
just
see that?
fixed,
Oh, sorry.
please?
Well,
My husband might not like that too much.
I have some questions about that.
He might run over with somebody with a bulldozer and bury him.
Alrighty, other business. Does anybody have any other business?
I got a question, if you don't mind, Judge.
Turn your mic on, please.
Okay, the question's concerning the code issues that we talked about earlier. And every member of the court is supposed, offered the opportunity to submit changes or modifications they might want to the code. That's gonna be taken up at our next administrative code meeting, or our administrative committee meeting, or is it gonna be later?
I would say we'll go ahead and start on the next one.
The next one, okay, which would be in August.
I'm not sure.
No.
Yes, it's August 10th.
What is it?
August 10th.
August 10th. There you go. And I believe like Squire Wisdom said, if we could have any thoughts and changes before.
Well, I got a couple more thoughts, but it might not necessarily need to be in the code, and I'll discuss that with you later.
Okay.
If it does
No,
be,
our next meeting is July 10th.
Yeah.
July the 10th.
Yes.
Next week we have one. Yeah,
That
I was
is
thinking,
correct.
yes.
Yeah, okay, you said August the 10th, I thought
No.
that was a fiscal court meeting maybe.
Next meeting is July 10th, next week.
So we're gonna take it up on July the 10th, Monday.
We'll start, I think.
All right, well, okay, I understand that. I just wanna make sure that if it, so everybody's got it. Is there a deadline set up then to have these, any request to change it before July the 10th?
No, I think the end of the month is okay. We already have a couple, I think, to get going on, you know.
Well,
it's gonna be
I
a
had
long
one
process.
myself in there, and I
Yeah.
noticed others, and I got another one maybe, but I'll talk to you about that.
Okay.
Judge, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's so-
I would like to, I've been to a lot of trainings, I've done a lot of information seeking on the opioid settlement funds at this point. We've got a lot of community members that we need to help with this money now. And I would like to start talking about setting up a committee to work on that.
Okay.
I would really like to chair that. And I would really like to request that our county attorney be at some of those meetings, at least at the beginning.
Okay. All right.
Well, Judge, again, I'll echo Squire Dykus. I think that those funds are sitting there. We're in a new fiscal year. We need to start putting some of them to work. They can help people now. We've already been sort of waiting 6 months for this new court to put some of those to use. And I think Squire Dykus and I talked before about gathering some of this community together to have a community conversation about where those funds can best be used and how to most effectively combat some of our problems that are exponential in this community. So I think it's high time we start having that discussion.
Okay. Squire Tracy.
Thank you, Judge. At one of our May court meetings, the Frankfurt Plant Board gave you and members of the court an update on the FPB countywide broadband plan. During that meeting, we were informed that the cost of the project had doubled in price and reduced from 1,900 homes to a little over 1,000. ultimately leaving 900 plus homes unserved. Can you give us an update on where we're at with that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You know, I think the first time they presented to us was like in February, and then they came back in March to kind of talk about some things. May 10th, they approached us and wanted us to go into that agreement, but I don't think everybody was comfortable with that because, you know, a lot of the members of Franklin County were going to be left out. So, you know, since then, I couldn't tell you how many times I met with the governor's office. I was on the phone with them 2 days ago, or yesterday. I was on the phone with DOG today, the Department of Local Governments who handle the money, because there is new monies out there. So we're trying to really figure out the best move, because we want to make sure everybody in Franklin County gets broadband. So I actually have a meeting on Monday with Congressman Comer. Deputy and I had a good sit down for an hour and a half with him, and that was a big point of conversation as far as, you know, how can we come up with the appropriate funds to get this project complete. So we're literally working on it every day. So we're just trying to figure the best avenue to make sure we get everybody covered in Franklin County. So that's where we are right now. We're just trying to figure out how to get it done.
Have any idea timetable per se when?
I'm waiting on a couple of answers.
Okay.
I mean, I'm hoping within the next month or two that we are hopefully moving in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking that. I've been asked.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's just a lot of misinformation out there, like we're holding it up or just.
Absolutely. I think
And
people
that's
are
not-
just
simply not the
confused
case.
and they feel like we're not giving them the information. We just
Well, and I
we
think
don't
when the
have the
plant board came
information.
back,
We don't have
They
as
took full
much.
responsibility
Yeah.
for it, you know. I mean, I think it was,
Yeah.
you know, last year when they realized it was gonna happen, and I still don't know how it happened or why it happened, so we're trying to figure it out and deal with it. So it's literally every Monday morning, the deputy and the assistant, we have a meeting, and that's top of the list every week. I mean, literally, every week we talk about broadband. So we're calling all the right people, we're just trying to figure out how to get it done.
Didn't the state receive quite a bit more money?
They did.
Some
They
million
did. That
dollars?
was the conversation yesterday and today. It's 50% match, so we're still trying to figure it out, you know, as far as how we can make our same amount of money that we were told last year was gonna cover the whole project, and now it's only gonna cover half, so that's not kind of fair to us or the taxpayers. So, to your point, we are not holding it up. We're just trying to make the best move we can for all the people in Franklin County.
Yeah, to ensure those 1,900 plus
Absolutely.
homes get it.
Yeah.
And what you didn't mention is you've been exploring, as we've talked about, some other options, some other providers to look at where we can best meet all areas, even if that is not just through the Frankfurt Plant Board, that we may have to split this up. And really the holdup at this point is, you know, I was disappointed the Plant Board took 5 months to come present to this court, and we're starting almost at square one, I feel like now, to find a way, my district particularly, to meet every one of those homes with service that's critical right now. So it's going to take a little while, but I know you're having those meetings to see what we can do and how we can stretch what money we have the farthest to meet the best need, and making sure that we do so responsibly with those dollars. So.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Another item, Judge. Back on May 3rd, we had a presentation from KCDC to this court, and then, you know, it was billed on our agenda to be success stories by KCDC, but ultimately what we were presented was sort of a fact sheet of state stats. And at that time, we requested that projects that KCDC has been working have some analysis performed on sort of the rate of return of those projects, if you will. And I don't know that we've had any communication back from the organization. I asked you earlier if we had seen that. There was some initial evaluation of the few projects that have received loans from public money, but nothing else, to my knowledge yet, evaluating sort of the track record of the organization, if you will, in those other projects. I'd like us maybe to prompt some more formal communication. I was hoping we would have that before the budget session ended, so we could start identifying how we could best use dollars, and we didn't get that, unfortunately. But also, as part of that meeting, we had a discussion here that, it's gone 13, 14 years. We're going on 13 years, I believe, since we had sort of a community conversation with the two elected bodies, the city and the county, to target a directive for that organization and how they're going to best serve our community. A lot's changed since then in just the last couple of years, and I think it's high time we start having that conversation again about the effectiveness of the organization as it stands and what its priorities are. I feel like some of the priorities are ever shifting, and there are opportunities to target some really unique instances and businesses and general opportunities sort of defined by this housing study even, that we've had some more information that we didn't have 13, 15 years ago. So I just wanted to ask if maybe you could, through your capacity serving on the board of that organization, if you could prompt some more feedback to us about those. We were told that there was some software that could easily identify sort of returns, jobs, numbers, vacancies, all of that kind of thing on projects that have been previously worked and completed. I'd like to see those still.
Could you do me a favor and send us an email?
Absolutely.
Kind of, because you have it all down in your book there probably, as far as how you would like to see it, what you would like to see, and then we could invite the executive director to our next fiscal board meeting to present. Or the one after that,
And then maybe your next conversation with the mayor, maybe, I don't know if that is necessarily committee or a joint meeting of the bodies, but somehow figuring out how we can start having a conversation as a community about directive we'd like our economic development and industrial authority to be focused on and what we'd like them to focus on.
Right.
Since there seems to be a lack of communication with the elected officials in both bodies from the organization. So thank you.
Okay. Any other business? Squire Blackburn, you asked a little bit ago about vehicles. I just asked Jack to go get the official letter that we sent out, just so there's no misinformation. Thank you. As far as, I want to make sure everybody in the community understands what we're doing that came out of one of the meetings. So it reads, "Dear Franklin County staff, first I'd like to say how much I appreciate each one of you. Since day one, you have been asked to do extraordinary things, and you have stepped up every time. I admire your dedication to our community. During the 2023-2024 budget process, it was determined that take-home vehicles could no longer be allowed, except for on-call emergency vehicles. This is a cost-saving measure that will benefit the entire county. Beginning July 1, 2023, all department supervisors will be responsible to determine what facilitates an on-call emergency and compliance with this new policy. If there's any questions, please let us know so we can discuss. Again, thank you for your service to our community." So I just wanted everybody to realize that people who have, who are, everybody's essential, don't get me wrong, but I believe Stephen said earlier, there's somebody on call at all times with the road department with a take-home vehicle. So if there's a storm coming, it's at their discretion if they take trucks home, things like that. So I know there were some things out there that I felt like weren't accurate, so I just wanted to kind of read the official letter, and we are not trying to cut anything. We're just trying to be more fiscally responsible, and I just wanted to kind of read that to everybody since you had brought it up, Squire.
Thank you.
Anything else before we go into the voting session? Seeing nothing else, clerk, please call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Dykus.
Here.
Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Tanner.
Here.
Squire Westman.
Present.
Judge Mueller.
Present. Authorization for approval of minutes from regular meeting of June 22nd, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization for approval of minutes from special meeting of June 28th, 2023.
So moved with the corrections.
Noted.
Second.
Did you get that, clerk?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to advertise for sealed bids for a Motrim boom mower.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to advertise for sealed bids for a dump truck and snow equipment for a 2023 Ford F-450 chassis cab.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve resolution authorizing the filing of a grant application with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture Animal Control Advisory Board for the Spay Neuter Kentucky program on behalf of the Franklin County Humane Society.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve resolution in support of submission of an application for grant funds with the United States Department of Transportation's Safe Streets and Roads for All, SS4A grant.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to enter into an engineering services agreement with Hayworth, Meyer, and Bull Professional Engineers, Inc., HMB.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Payment of bills. Is there a motion offered to deny any payment of claims? Claims are ordered to be paid. Authorization to hire Tammy West as our grant writer.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to create a new position of planning and zoning code enforcement officer.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve appointment of Birch Bragg to the Franklin County Tourist and Convention Commission.
So moved. Second.
Didn't even let me finish reading it, so. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We're going to table this next one. Authorization to reappoint Sari Sebastian to the Resource Office for Social Ministries, Rosin Board, as a representative of the Fiscal Court with a term ending June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those,
Who's second?
Me.
Can I vote on this?
I will.
I mean, I'm going to abstain for the record.
She thought she was gonna have to make a motion.
No, she didn't need it. Thank you.
all right, I
They
think
need a
we're-
lot.
all those
There's a lot of
opposed
work
say
with
nay.
Just telling you.
Motion passes. Authorization to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We're adjourned. Thank you.